Hello, my name is Jessie and you've reached the Grown Up Millennial, my new YouTube channel, and this is my debut video, so welcome. In this video, what I'm going to talk about is my personal story of how I graduated debt-free. Yes, I graduated with zero debt. Now, before you make any assumptions, that was a really difficult journey. I'm going to tell you about my journey, but not everything I did is feasible or possible for everyone else. So please do not take any of this as you have to do this or you've failed. Additionally, I'm going to give you a little bit of the background just so that you understand where I came from. So all of my life, I knew I wanted to go to college. I was obsessed with college. Really, it took over my dreams. I was constantly thinking of dream schools. It was never a question for me of whether I was going to go to college or not. But I had always assumed that I was going to get a full ride scholarship. My parents didn't have much money. They hadn't saved up much money for college. So I just never questioned that I get a full ride scholarship. I had to because I was going to go to college. That's how it was going to work. And I went to a very, very competitive high school where college was end all be all. Everyone was obsessed with it just like me. So I applied to 10 schools and I got into 10 schools. So I was very proud of that. But when I got my financial aid offers, they were not good. Granted, I got financial aid because my family was lacking money, but it was not what I needed. The best offer, the absolute best offer I got, I had to graduate with $40,000 in student loan debt, and I just couldn't do that. I couldn't bring myself to do that. On top of that, part of that debt was going to be in Parent Plus loans, which meant my parents had to take on debt for me to go to these schools, which wasn't going to work for me either. I couldn't ask them to take on more debt. Everyone went through 2008 recession. Everyone was struggling. So, in April 2012, I decided to go to community college, which was a really, really hard decision for me. Part of that was because I had a lot of pride. I was convinced that people who went to community college were losers or dropouts. And everyone at my school was convinced the same thing. And when I went and told people I was going to go to community college, they told me that I was throwing my life away, that it was a waste of time. They said, "Jessie, I thought you were smart." Really kind of mean, hurtful things like that, and it crushed me. But as it turns out, I'm having the last laugh because I graduated from a great school, studied some great stuff, and I graduated debt-free. So let's go over a little bit how I did that. First one, I went to community college. I know shows like Big Bang Theory and Community make it seem sort of like this slightly more grown-up version of high school, but community college was really the best decision I could have made. One, I saved oodles of money, like just insane amounts of money. But two, I met some of the most amazing people. I did some really, really incredible things at my community college, and I felt really prepared for when I transferred. The next thing I did was I transferred in-state. So I transferred from community college to a University of California campus. University of California is pretty expensive, but the in-state tuition isn't bad. And fortunately, I qualified for a fair amount of grants personally because of my family's income. So I decided to stay in-state and I just stayed public for my university. Third thing is I lived at home for my first couple years, which was tough. Personally, I was one of those kids just ready, raring to go. I wanted to get out of the house, go out on my own, live the dorm life. So it was really tough for me to decide to live at home. But again, it ended up being a really, really great choice for me. One, I improved relationships with my family and my brother, and I made better relationships with the friends I already had because I had an extra 2 years while I was going through this transition into adulthood where we could work together. But two, I got to practice adulthood without doing the whole thing. So when I was living at home, my mom was happy to cook for me. But I knew that I was going to transfer in a couple years and that I was going to have to live on my own. So I decided to start practicing as if I lived on my own. So I paid a lot of my own bills. I covered as much as I could. I bought my own groceries. I cooked most of my own meals. I really wanted to pretend I was living on my own so that when I did live on my own, I didn't have a long transition period or I didn't make a lot of mistakes that would cost me money. And that ended up being amazing for me. When I transferred to my university, I was living off of $20 a week for for groceries, which you might think I was living off hot dogs and ramen. I was not. I was eating really, really great meals, lots of fruits and vegetables. I could have dessert when I wanted. I was having full meals. I was full. I was healthy. I was actually healthier than I think I've ever been. So, because I learned to do that, I got to do that practice when I was at home and I had this safety net. So that was a big part of how I was able to save so much money. The fourth, and this is probably one of the most important as well. Honestly, they're all the most important. I'm going to keep saying that, but this is really big for me personally. Apply for scholarship. Cannot emphasize this enough. People think that they're not going to qualify because of their income level, maybe their skin color, what gender they are, what they don't think they have a sad story. I can attest to you that that is not the case. There are thousands of scholarships out there, and they want a variety of people. Yes, there are scholarships for certain types of people, but there are also scholarships for your type of people. There are scholarships for everybody. The important part is that you need to apply to all of them that you qualify for. For example, myself, I won 11 scholarships. That sounds a lot, right? Like, oh my God, she must be so good at applying for scholarships. Here's the thing, I won 11. I applied to over 100. I work scholarships like a part-time job. But I ended up getting almost $20,000 in scholarships when you put it all together, and that was a massive part of allowing me to graduate debt-free. So, you should apply for scholarships, and not just the big ones, apply for the small ones. I'm going to cover in more videos about applying for scholarships, but that's a big thing. For me, was applying for scholarships. I could not have gotten here without doing that. Fifth, I worked. To be honest, I worked sometimes 2 jobs, 3 jobs at a time. You don't have to work that much. That was what I did because I really like working, to be honest. But I did work, and I also saved my money. So I figured out each month how much money I needed to just get through my expenses, go out on a couple dinners with friends, and then anything I made over that amount. Say, for example, my first year, my expenses were only $400 a month. I was living at home, rent-free. My expenses were $400 a month. Anything I made over $400 went straight to bank, straight into savings. I didn't touch it. And I was able to use that for when I transferred and was doing other cool stuff. So, work and saved my money. And finally, and this is another really big thing, is I paid for what I wanted. So, graduating debt-free shouldn't mean that you stay in your room a hermit, that you never do the things you want out of college. It's important instead what I did personally is I decided what I wanted out of college. I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to study a lot of cool different things. So those are the things I paid for. By the time I transferred, I was less interested in living in a dorm-like experience, so I decided to live off campus, which was cheaper than living on campus, which would have given me that dorm experience, but I didn't really want it, and it was more expensive. Same thing, I'm not really a partier. I'm fairly social, but I prefer one-on-one contact, so I joined clubs instead of joining frats and sororities. There's nothing wrong with fraternities or sororities. I have some really great people in the Greek life. I'm just saying it wasn't for me, so I wasn't going to pay for it. I wasn't going to let anyone pressure me into paying for it. My advice is, if you want to graduate debt-free, don't let that get in the way of having the college experience you want. Just pay for the things that you want to pay for. Don't pay for things that you're told you should pay for. And you'll find that the money you do spend is worth it. And that if you do take on any debt, one, it should be lower if you follow one or any of the tips I gave here, but also that you'll feel better about the student loan debt that you took on. So, I'm going to talk more about how to do each of the things I did. I just wanted to give an overview of my personal story. If you want to share your personal story, or you want to make a comment on anything I said, or you want more information, leave a comment below, subscribe, because I'll be doing lots of cool videos like this one on adulthood as a millennial. And, well, thank you so much. I'm really enjoyed making this video, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Bye.